I like wrote almost no commands. I did this almost purely in English, which is a pretty mind-bending experience for someone who's used the command line for the last 20 years to have my primary interaction with it be just like, do this, do that, fix this, tell me what went wrong.
Here's what you're going to see in this demo. First, now you can write in plain English from the command line and the terminal understands. Agent mode runs highly accurate commands tailored to your environment. You can attach terminal context directly. It also knows when it needs more information to help you complete a task. And it will ask permission to run the command on your machine. Altogether, this means you can accomplish any dev task from the command line with any CLI. To show how this works, I'm going to give Zach a terminal challenge. Zach, your challenge will be to set up a database connection pooling server.
Okay, challenge accepted. So the idea here is we use Postgres as our database and our servers connect to it. We want to put a service in between our production servers and our database that helps us pool database connections. I'm going to try and use agent mode to set it up locally in Docker and have it connect to my local Postgres. So let's give it a shot.
So you notice right away that Warp is recognizing natural language input on the command, and it switched the input into agent mode.
Just writing this out, giving it some info. Please walk me through the steps. Okay, we'll see how we do here. Let's go agent mode. So here we go. This is interesting to see. So I'm going to go through this and just read it. Always a smart thing to do before I do things. So it's going to get this from Debian. It's going to install Pgbouncer and the Postgres client. I'm not sure if it needs that. And then it's going to set up these two configuration files, which are copied from which I think I'm going to have to create. And this all looks pretty reasonable. Okay, auth type trust, auth file. I just want to understand this a little bit more. So actually, I'm going to say, could you create the Docker file for me as the first step?
So you can see here that Warp AI is asking for permission to run a command. So you'll always know whatever is being run on your computer.
So this looks reasonable. It's making me a Docker file. Okay, now it wants to make the INI file here, but I want to understand this a little bit more. Can you explain what's in this file? Specifically, how does auth work? So database section looks right. So that's what we want. Okay. Okay, I think this is actually great for local development in that I'm fine with auth type trust just for now, just to see if I can get this thing running, and then I'll kind of harden it before we move to production. Okay. So let's try to run the Docker container. Can you quit and clean up any running Docker processes first? I just want to make sure we have a clean state. Okay. Okay, so now it wants me to build this. I'm going to go ahead and build it. Uh-oh. Looks like we had an error. So I'm going to ask, I think I forgot to create those other files.
Create a user list.
But I'm going to have it fix this for me.
And Zach has to attach the context of this block so that the AI has context over the previous command.
Yeah, so now it's going to create these two files that were missing before that I forgot to create. Okay, now let's try and build this again. And see, we're sort of building here. Looks like we built. Can you run it for me, please? I always say please. Oh no, it already built. Oops. Can you run it, please? There we go. So this is going to run what it just built and expose the Pgbouncer warp port. So let's do that. So let's see if it actually ran successfully. So I can kind of pop this open. Looks good. Before I run this, can I see the logs from the running container? So I'll make sure. Oops.
So sometimes the auto detection doesn't detect correctly, in which case you would use Command I to toggle it again.
Okay. So hold on. Is the container successfully running? I have a typo, but I think that's probably fine. So it's not running. Cannot find log file. Okay. Let's see if agent
Yeah, could we
help me
take a
navigate
look
through
at the
this.
Docker file again and see how they create that directory?
Yeah, let's take a look. So
Oh,
maybe
is it?
these directories don't exist.
It's probably using like a cache or something because I don't see the var log uh
Hmm.
yeah file in here.
Ask this. Can you look at all the files you've created so far and try to diagnose why the container isn't starting? Let's go look at these. So now it is suggesting some updates to the Docker file. So let's try it. Let's try what it suggested here. You rebuild, stop all existing Docker process containers, clear them out, and then rerun. So fine. Okay, rebuild, rebuilt. It's clearing all these things out. Okay, so connection refused. So we still have an error. Do we get the logs? Ah, we got the logs this time. So that's good to see.
That's progress.
That is progress. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and try to fix this permission error. See if it works. It's gonna walk me through rebuilding. It knows to restart, which is pretty cool.
All
Boom,
right.
I'm in.
Yeah, whoa, that's awesome.
That's cool. Let me just open a side one here and just verify that I really have the right database. So I forget, what's the command in Postgres for listing all tables, just to make sure that I'm really there. So let me copy this, put it in here. We might want to blur this out because it's our database, but Yeah, we are truly in, and now we are connection pooling. So the next step here, if I wanted to keep going down this road, would be to figure out how to deploy this Docker container to a staging rig. But I'm pretty psyched that agent mode was able to get me through this, and I would not have known how to do this. It would have taken me quite a bit longer to figure it out.
So you just use agent mode in Warp AI to get this entire thing done in less than 10 minutes? If I gave you the same challenge, but you couldn't use Warp AI at all, how would you have gone about it?
Oh boy. I think I would have had to spend quite a bit more time reading docs um, on Pgbouncer. I'd have to try and remember how the Docker syntax works in a way that like I just cannot remember because I don't write Docker files all that often. Um, Even just like the like start, stop, rebuild, all that Docker stuff, I would probably be doing quite a bit of Googling, Stack Overflowing, because I just don't do it that often. So the fact that it could like do all those commands for me and then diagnose when it had errors and knew all the syntax for Docker was that was pretty cool. I also think if you were to look at this, I like wrote almost no commands. I did this almost purely in English, which is a pretty mind-bending experience for someone who's used the command line for the last 20 years to have my primary interaction with it be just like do this, do that, fix this, tell me what went wrong, as opposed to like fat fingering trying to write commands all the time. So it's pretty cool.